everybody, how are you? Today's video is overdue. I was tagged by my good friend Chad.
Well, I say, hello there.
The fat man, over a week ago now, to do a video on my 3 most sentimental knives. But before we get into that, time for a wee drinky. Not beer this week, I'm having a whiskey instead. So I've got me South Kakalaki shot glass that Chad sent me. What happened was, a while ago, I noticed at Tesco's the Bushmills had a bit of a reduction in the price. I think they knocked about £5 off. And I thought, it's years and years and years since I've had Irish whiskey, probably 20. So I thought I'd give it a go, see what I thought about it, because this was one of the first whiskies that I got into many moons ago. And I thought it'd be interesting to see whether I still think it's any good. So I bought a bottle, and it's lovely. Considering it's a blended whiskey, it's very smooth, quite a light fruity flavour. It's really very good. So cheers, Chad. On to the video. My 3 most sentimental knives. Now, most people who do this kind of video have the grandfather's knife or a knife that their father passed down to them. I don't have any of those. Never knew either of my grandfathers, and had my father passed me down a knife, I'd have stabbed the fucker with it. But anyway, so I don't have any family heirlooms, and I'm not going to include any gifts. People have been massively generous over the past few years, and I've got lots of lovely knives that were sent to me as gifts, but I think it would be terribly bad form to pick one person's gift over another. So I'm not. I've done a similar video to this before, I think, at least once, but never mind. It was a long time ago, and it was a request from my very good mate Chad. So let's crack on. So we'll start off with the knife that got me into collecting. The Mora Scout 39. Now, I had one of these when I was a teenager, young teenager, back in the days when you could go into a sports shop and buy a big knife with your pocket money. Can't do that anymore. Not a massively sophisticated knife, but not expensive either. I paid £10 for this about 4 or 5 years ago. I think they're only £17 now. I don't know what happened to the original one. It was either lost or stolen. And at the time, I didn't realise what a good product it was. 85mm blade, 2mm thick. Finger guards. It's a rat tail tang with a little spring wedge holding the birch handle on. Extremely good quality blade. Mora use for stainless steel either 12C27 or 14C28N, and given that this is at the budget end of their product range, we can be fairly sure it's 12C27. Scandi grind, leather sheath, fairly basic but robust, stitched, riveted, plastic insert, nice generous belt loop. Fantastic little knife, and I didn't realise that these were still available until I spotted one in Class Olson, the retailer, and they are still stocking them, although you have to turn up to a shop. They don't sell them over the internet. It always says temporarily out of stock online, but they've never been in stock online. But a fabulous little knife. If you've got big hands, it's going to be a bit on the small side. I can just about get a 4-finger grip. I've got medium hands. But for the money you pay, it is an excellent product. And I bought this because it gave me quite a nostalgia trip to back when I was a young teenager going fishing. And as I say, I used to have one of these then. Stopped fishing. After only a couple of seasons, I realised I didn't need an excuse to sit by a big pond and watch the dragonflies. But I always thought for a long time that I was on my own with my fondness for knives. But then as an adult I found out that there's knife nuts all over the world. So I jumped on the chance to buy one of these, and that's how I started collecting. The next knife is my little Opinel Number 6, I think it is. I'll check that. Now I carried this every day for a long time. As you can see, the handle's quite worn. This is a carbon steel blade, and you can see from the wavy edge that I wasn't always terribly good at sharpening. But we've got a locking collar with number 6 on. And so I did carry this for a long time, even though being a lock knife I shouldn't have done really. And the main reason why this is one of my sentimental knives is partly because we spent such a long time together, but partly because it has my one and only attempt at making a sheath. Scraps, offcuts of rawhide, wet formed. The stitching I think is waxed cotton if I remember, and you can still see the imprint of the mould grips that I used to clamp it round the knife. Not a particularly well finished sheath, but it works. The stitching's getting a bit saggy there, probably wouldn't carry it on the belt anymore. But one of my favourites from a while ago. And then the third sentimental knife that I'm going to show you is the knob knife. What's the knob knife? It's a knife that looks like a knob. Now, what's the deal with this? Sword Peasant. I've had a couple of these and I wanted to have a go at modding them. The handles, when I bought them, were varnished with this horrible, unpleasant varnish, and they're very roughly finished. They're much better finished now, the wooden handles they come with. They're sanded to a finer finish, and I think they're now oiled rather than varnished. So I've got some pieces of yew from, I think it was Scott at Wessex Blades. And the first mod I did was simply to make a new pair of scales the same shape as the originals. And then I wanted to try something else. I want to try a single piece handle. And also the blades come with a black coating. And I wanted to polish that all off. There's still some on the back because the back's quite rough. And make a single piece handle for it. Because the slot, you can see it ends there and comes out there. This was a saw cut slot, so I've had to leave the big lump on the back simply for strength. I originally intended just to do a banana shape similar to the original scales, but I thought I'd better leave some bulk on the back for strength, and that's why it's come out like a knob. But we've got the original fittings, the stop pin and the pivot. And these sword blades are fantastic quality blades, far better quality than the shitey handles that they sell them in. But this is one of my sentimental knives simply because of the amount of bloody work it took. It's very hard wood to work, especially if you're not used to it or skilled. So as you can see, it's not massively well finished. Could have done with a lot more sanding, but I just got fed up with it by the time I stopped. So I just slapped on a bit of beeswax, and there we have it. So my 3 sentimental knives are the knob knife, because it's one of my few attempts at modding. The Opinel Number 6, because I carried it for so long and we've got history, and it's also my first and only attempt at making a sheath. And then the Mora Scout 39, which was a knife that got me into collecting, because I had one as a teenager and I didn't know they were still available. But it's a lovely traditional fixed blade. So I'm not even sure if they're all in camera. Let's just shift that out of the way. That might be a bit better. So there we go.